All right, we're going to talk about Bill Powell as far as our takeaways from that. And I'm going to go through some slides I put together, but then afterwards, I want to hear from the people that went, what they brought back, what their takeaways were from it, or who their favorite speakers were. And that way we can get a good rounded group as far as, what the takeaways were. Katie, I'm so glad that I got the link right to you finally. So good to
Me
see you
too.
on
Thank
board.
you. I'm excited.
My pleasure. So first off, what is Build How? I mean, this I think was important because we're recording it for other agents and stuff, but Build How was based off of a podcast called How I Built This. And Ben brought about it because he loves Sarah Blakely's story about, how she invented Spanx and how she worked hard to become the first female billionaire. And also he said, what can we do for this podcast? And it was to share real estate business methods, and they built huge businesses. And then we're going to have shares from Brenda Burchard, also Michael Phelps, and also shares from Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez, and then also economic data from Goldman Sachs. So Brendan, one of the things I took away from him was to seek clarity, know your numbers and track them, is how it translates to me in real estate. Also generate energy. Anybody that was there, I mean, he jumped around the stage like he was Tigger. I mean, he had so much energy, just a happy guy. And it gets back to what our morning routine looks like, and having that morning routine to actually make certain that we're going into the right mindset for the day. And I love what Chris shared about Brendan. He's got a Post-it note on his computer, and it says, who needs my A game today? And that can be someone such as our spouse. It could be our children. It's not always just one of our clients or one of our teammates. So I thought that was really good as far as generating that energy. Then also raise necessity. And he talked about his morality motivation moment where he almost died. And when you get to that point, it does kind of put things in perspective for you very fast as far as what's really important. And then also increase productivity. And that's the same thing for us too. And it just doesn't mean work more hours. What it does mean is be more purposeful in what we're doing and have a plan for it and work that plan. And then the other one is develop influence. We develop influence every day when we go out, talk to our clients, and how we interact with others. And he talked about live, love, and matter. And are we actually telling that, we love the people that we're around? Also, are we living in the moment? And also, are we making where it matters to not only us, but also others? And then the other is demonstrate courage. And that's have faith in our systems that we do. Because we see every time we work our systems, we get those results just like what they tell us to. So I thought it tied in perfectly with what Chris and Ben always tell us. The next one is our protective mode. These are 3 circles that we go through when we have change. Because Ben talked about, what's changing, what's not. Well, the first protective mode is that we resist reality. And a lot of agents are going to resist the fact that the market's changed. And they're going to sit there and say, it's just the market, the interest rates went up, so we can't do anything. So they're not looking at what they can do to alter their future with it. Then the next one is stress mode, and that's just coping, okay? And that's the mode where 70% of people will stay in. They will get to that point, actually work through the stress, but they do it every single day. But the biggest one is courage mode, and this is where we push through that challenge, and it's going to get us to the next level that we want to get to. Now, Michael Phelps, he also had some great points too that he brought up. And one was have a goal. And when he talked about having a goal, he wasn't talking about having a goal just to win a gold medal. His was to break a world record every day. And the difference between that is when you're striving to win a gold medal. Oh, sorry, I went too far there. He talked about when he's looking to win a gold medal, you're just getting to that and then you're stopping. But if you're always looking to break a world record, you're looking to get better and better every single day. So it's kind of an onward journey that you never actually make. The next one is he practiced 7 days a week for 6 years, getting ready for the 2008 Olympics. Now, we're not saying everybody does that, but what it does, it shows his focus to make certain that he broke world records. And he did. He broke 23 world records in his swimming. I mean, that was outstanding. The other part is he stressed the process, because there was times that he would swim and he showed no improvement whatsoever. And he would do it for months. And then all of a sudden, bam, he'd all of a sudden have this improvement where he is now breaking those world records. So he wanted to become great at what he's doing, okay? And if you don't want it bad enough, then you won't work the time that you need to. And the neat thing about him is just like our script practice that we do, and we get better incrementally, he was measuring progress in 1/100th of a second. And when you look at, I'm going to measure my scripts as far as how much better I get by just one word or one tonality or one phrase, that's a huge lesson we can take away. And that's why we practice scripts every single day, because we get better each day with that. One I've talked about already, but the other is focus on small improvements, master one, and move to the next. And the first one may just be, I want to make certain that I'm ready for my open house that I'm doing. I want to make certain I've got the balloons. I want to make certain I've littered the neighborhood with signs in the proper way. I want to make certain I've got my sign-up sheet for my QR code that they can just scan, so they're automatically in Brivity. So as soon as they leave, that auto plan kicks in and starts communicating with them. But those are type of things that we want to smoke on small improvements. So the next part could very well be, okay, what can I do once I get inside the house? One of my big takeaways with Ryan, Greg brought up, is have them take your shoes off, because it's also great for the seller because it's respectful for them. And also they can't bolt out the door because they got to put their shoes on. I thought that was a great thing. So that is one of those things that's just small, but it's so true. And it's just, I just went, that's a great one. Just thought it was wonderful. The next one is shares that we got from Ben and Chris. Okay. We're going to be in a changing environment, and what got us here is not going to keep us here. We were in a service environment back in the first year and all of last year, and now we're in a skills environment. And that's going to be how well we communicate our value, how well we reach out, also as far as just putting in the reps that we need. We're going to see our sales go down, or the market go down, probably somewhere between 30% across the board. Well, that means we're going to have to sit there and improve our activities by 30%. And that's the great thing about Brivity, is it saves you so much time with the text message, emails, and also the reminders, and also your dialer that you can go through and just dial a bunch of folks. Also be very clear on what your goals are, okay, and who you are. And what I mean by that is we're getting ready to go into our planning on the 26th of this month as a Place Nation. You want to come up with the dollar amount, and I don't mean I want to make around 70 or 75, or I want to make 200 or 225. You want one number that you're working towards. It is impossible for your partners to help you achieve those numbers if you don't know the exact number. So you cannot be wishy-washy about that. You have to go and look at your bills, what you want to accomplish, how much you want to have for investment dollars to improve your wealth. And then that's your number. And that is something that's non-negotiable the rest of the year. And then that's going to base what your activities are going to be. So you're going to be able to propel yourself to also make that. But again, they can't help you on that path if they don't know where we're going. It's kind of like, I want to go to Ohio. Well, Ohio is a big state. What part of Ohio do we want to go into? Do we want to go Columbus, Cincinnati? There's a big difference there. Okay. So again, that's why you need that specific number. Okay. One of the other things is we underestimate the power we have as real estate professionals. People are going to read the news. You guys are in the business every single day. You guys are also in the houses. You guys are also in the MLS every day. You're seeing the price enhancements go through. You're seeing the days on market expand. You're seeing them offer selling incentives as far as buying down rates and also helping with closing costs. So you guys are experts. Do not underestimate that. And no matter what happens, people still have to buy and sell real estate. Remember that. So no matter what the market's doing, you've got people out there buying and selling real estate. It's just, we need to do the activity, so we're part of that. So as we face change, we have to confront it. The other part is our condition of our database is really going to matter. So you're going to need to take a look at your database, make sure that it's really tight. And then again, hot leads, anybody that's hot means that they're going to buy within 90 days. So you're talking to them once a week. And you can go in Brivity and see that you've talked to them once a week, because you can sort it that way. Anybody that's nurture, you're talking to them once a month, because they're going to buy within 6 months to a year. And if they're a watch, you're talking to them once every quarter. So that's 4 times a year. But if we're not reaching out and talking to them, then don't get upset when they go buy from somebody else, because we weren't reaching out to them. So again, the condition of your database is really going to matter. And then also start with the basics. You guys might have heard of a coach called Vince Lombardi or John Walton. And Vince Lombardi coached the Green Bay Packers, and John Walton, he coached the UCLA Bruins, and both of them are tremendous coaches. And John Walton, I mean, he would start with showing people how to tie their shoelaces, how many socks to put on. Not basketball, but that's what he started with. And Vince Lombardi would always start with, this is a football. I mean, that's really basic. But you start with those basics and then you build on that. And that's going to be real key to what we're getting into now. And that's going back to what are our standards as far as when we get a lead in. We call them within 24 hours. All right. They're doing the 2 open houses, talking to our database, and also doing 150 dials each day. The next one is our database potential exercise. And Bob has done this with you guys, where you go through your database. Okay. And in Tennessee, 67% of the people own homes. So in your database, if you have, we're just going to use round numbers. Let's say you have 2,000 people in your database, 67% of those own homes. So that means roughly 1,400 people own a home there. So you put that down. The next part is people buy and sell every 7 years. So you divide that 1,400 by 7, because that's how many years. So if you do that, you've got 200 potential deals in your database of people that are going to be buying or selling. And most of the time, they're going to buy and sell. So you actually double that. Now, if we're not working the database, then we can't use those numbers. But that is a big one. I don't know if you guys have ever heard Bob talk about that or not. Shares from Goldman and Sachs. One of the things we saw in 2020 is right after COVID hit, we had a V recovery. And what that was is everything dropped off the map because everything closed down. And then all of a sudden we see it pick right back up. Well, what we're seeing now is the Fed is trying to do quantitative easing, and that's with interest rates. So they're going to be banging them out, and they're going to raise them again coming up. And people are already talking about that. So we'll probably see interest rates by 8% is what Ben thinks is going to happen. And I agree with him. Okay. Now, one of the cool things about this recession versus back in 2008 and 9 is only 2% of homeowners have negative equity. So a lot of sellers are going to have golden handcuffs. And what that means is they've got this interest rate of 2% or 3%. And now they're looking at, well, I'm going to sell this, but now I've got to go buy something at a 7 or 8%. And I don't really want to do that. So those are going to be new objections that you're going to overcome, because you have to take a look, what are their pain points? If their family's blown up and they're in a 3-bedroom and they need a 5-bedroom, that's true, but we're going to have to still go ahead and figure out a way to get them in that 5-bedroom. Now, don't worry so much about the rates, because remember, you marry the house and you date the rate, because they can always go and refinance that aspect of it. Okay. Now, we also have a recession poll that Goldman Sachs did. In June, 25 to 30% thought we'd go into a recession. Now it's 40 to 50% of financial people think we're going to go into a recession. That is a huge increase in just a few months. So home prices, you're going to probably experience a 3 to 5% decrease. There's going to be some markets that are going to be up in the single digit, but for the most part, you're going to see a small decrease as we go through this part of it, through this and the first part of next year. Now, one of the things that you guys need to be keenly aware of, affordability has not been this low since 1996. And I'm going to go back to our skills-based market again. This is why it is so important that we become great at our scripts, and also have all those different items that we need as far as BKCO mortgage, where you don't have any lending fees at all. That saves them thousands of dollars, which helps in that. They can also buy down the rate. The other thing is consumer confidence has not been this low since 2015. So homeowners are going to end up staying in their home longer instead of the 5 years. In the example I gave was 7 years, it may be 10 years that they stay in now, okay? But consumers are going to have more options than ever before. Instant offers is probably the worst thing. I mean, they always lose equity. You saw that Open Door got hit with a $62 million fine for false advertising, saying you can make more through them. So what we want to do is examine our current business. And what's that going to be is forecast out your sales. Plan on a 30% reduction. I'm going to stop and let that sink in. That's a 30% reduction. Okay. Now, once you start with that goal, start working backwards, because the first thing you want to do is say, how much profit do I want to make for me and my family? Remember, we just talked about, I need to know what that number is that you want to make. Okay. And then what you're going to be looking at is cost of goods, because anytime you pay referral fees, that separates from your cost of goods. So you're not making as much on that sale with commissions. If you're paying for staging, pictures, splits, anything like that, those are going to be things. The other is expenses, marketing, lead acquisition, staffing. So we need to be very good at what we do and also leverage our technology. And that goes back to Brivity, our open house tools that we've got, also our marketing tools in Brivity that we've got, where you can actually put up those videos within 7 seconds in social media. Those are all types of things that we want to make certain that we're leveraging. Now, when you forecast out your sales, this could be an example. Let's say that you did $30 million as an agent last year. Okay. This year, you can plan on 21 million if you don't do anything differently. And your commission was 2.7. Well, we know commissions are going to start to get compressed. So that's why I put down 2.5. So you look at your GCI for that. Well, that's a major difference, you know, on your side of the split, whereas $1.1 million, now it's 525. And if your expenses are 711,000, well, let's say you cut it somewhat to 650. Look at the difference of your net. You're going to see a lot of real estate companies be in trouble as we keep going on through this year. And that's why it's so important to really double down on what our activities down, because it all starts with our sales here. Okay. The other part is on our commission, negotiating that, and also leveraging those cost of goods. So start with the goal and work backwards. And this is a great one that our partners, Kristen Meyer out of Seattle, also Amanda Poland out of Cleveland, and Georgie Cluck out of Miami went through for us, where they enter their sales goal, they divide by the average commission dollar, and that's going to be the number of transactions to make. Then you take the number of contacts, you're going to decrease with interest rate and sellers not wanting to pay as much to move up in homes. So you're going to have to increase your activity. So instead of doing 2 open houses per week, it may be now 3. Instead of doing 10 contacts a day, it's now 13. Instead of doing 5 written cards, it's now 7. But again, increase those activities and you're going to actually see that business still stay in place there. Another thing was profitability, and Travis Bard down in Phoenix, Jeanette Spinelli, our luxury agent down in Austin, and also through Nugent, who was on the Real Trends top 30 as far as up and comings. I mean, they talked about profitability. And one thing, don't confuse production with profitability. We've got mega agents right now. They're doing $1 million in GCI, and their margin is 5%. 5%. I mean, that's not a whole lot. They can sit there and say, look at all the volume I've done, but as far as what the net worth is that they're giving to them and their agents, it's minimal. So they're going to have to really look at their expenses. Now, what are the non-negotiables that should be around profit? Okay. Every expense should produce a profit for you. If you're doing leads, we need to know how well those leads are working and what percentage is being converted. And again, that goes back to being good at our scripts. So we call them, get the appointment. The next part is once we get the appointment, we convert them. And then also have a 4-month or more reserve on hand. So that way you don't have that stress that you're going to worry about as far as when's your next closing going to be. Okay. The next one is profitability. It can be at a competitive advantages. And what that means is you get to keep your success team intact, which is your operations team. You're going to see some people start to cut those expenses with that. So again, this is really important for profitability. Now your cost of goods, and these are things that you pay before you get down to that. So it's more of your gross profit, and that's referral fees, staging, picture splits. You're going to generate more leads organically to reduce your referral fees. And what that means is circle prospecting, door knocking. Austin Keaton's got that door knocking plan that he's doing right now. It's a business plan. Take a look at our Happy Place on Facebook. You'll see that where you can sign up for it. Also reduce or eliminate staging unless needed to compete in listings. Some of the luxury, I mean, they used to stage the whole house or stage a good portion of it. Is that something we need to do at this point? Negotiate with vendors to reduce cost of goods expenses, and that could be your photography. All right, I want to pay for 10 photo shoots. What kind of discount can you give me if I pay up front? All right, use a VA as a transaction coordinator instead of an in-house person, or instead of paying each time that you have a transaction, because it'll save you a ton of money and also frees up them to do other things for you as well. And then the other part is expenses, and this is marketing, lead acquisition, staffing. Ross Clausen, our former CFO, and now oversees the whole administration team. Reduce lead costs through generation organically. He mentioned again, examine your success staff activities and look at using VAs. And we've got some great ones with Brevity VA that we use. And I see Luth and Kat on here from my team. Okay. Eliminate marketing such as internet, print, TV ad, direct mail, unless you can show an ROI is at a rate of 4 profit dollars for every $1 spent. It can't be just a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-1. You need to actually do it. And then also know the difference between leverage and luxury. If you're hiring someone, and that's why our opportunity model is so big, so we can help people build their business. As they build in business, what happens is we're going to help them with a showing agent. We're going to hire a part-time admin for them. We pay for that. And the reason we do that isn't so they get to kick back. It's so that they can make more phone calls and spend more time on profit-producing activities, which is going in appointments, lead generation, and negotiating. The other one is focus on the fundamentals. Track your KPIs. And KPI stands for key performance indicators. And what these are is the same things. How many dials did we make? How many contacts did we make? How many appointments did we go on? How many of those appointments did we convert? So that way we know when we increase our activities, we know how much it's going to increase our sales coming up. It is a direct correlation as far as what's going to happen with it. Also utilize allied resources. And these are people that your mortgage provider, your title company, people that anybody that's associated with your business, also your sphere and your database. Let them know as far as what you're looking for and also what you can do for people. People don't know you can save them thousands of dollars on closing by using BKCO Mortgage. You need to really get that message out to them. And the same kind of thing with your database. And then the technology. Make certain you're using Brevity. You have got so many cool things in Brevity where you can actually do CMAs with inside the CRM. Remember, you can go to your CRM and you can look and see when the last time they opened up the listings that you sent to them. You can see which listings they looked at, how often, and also what the average price point is. And if someone's been to your website 265 times and they've got 3 favorites and an average of 650,000, and they were on your website just 2 hours ago, you probably want to call that person and say, I saw you were looking at the house over on 123 Apple Street. I'm going to be in that area. Would you like to meet me over there and we can take a look at it together? The other is forget marketing, go with prospecting. And what I mean by that is there is nothing bigger than getting somebody face to face. That is going to make a huge difference for you more than anything else, much more so than something you put on Facebook with a mime someone shared. Also track your KPI. We just had a new team join us, Veronica Figueroa, and she is out of Orlando. And last year her team did 2,100 transactions. Huge increase. She's got 48 agents. But one of the things she looked at is he would look at 100-second improvements. And Veronica is key because she asks her people, says, why don't you know your numbers? And she's just direct. She's not mean. She's not vengeful for them. She cares about them. And it's like anybody else. If you care about someone, maybe they're supposed to quit smoking. Why are you still smoking? We want you to still be around. And it's the same kind of thing. Why don't you know your numbers? We still want you being around in real estate in 6 months. We don't want you to be part of the carnage. But I thought that was really key. Other one was Allied Resources. Adam Dow, he did $200 million. He's our new partner up in New Hampshire. And he says, contact your 210. And what he means by that is you call your top 10 influencers. These are people in your database that are already sending you business today. Okay. The next thing is your top 100 in your sphere. And these are people that you've done business with. They think highly with you and they would use you again. And then the last top 100 are influences that you're in relationship with or should be in relationship with. Now for him, what he actually uses, because he does a lot of luxury stuff up there, is he gets involved with financial planners. He gets involved with trust attorneys. He gets involved with investment bankers, but he actually makes them a target and he reaches out to them on several different ways until they actually take his call and he can start talking to them. So it's an ongoing process, but you're always prospecting for new people in your sphere. Never think that once you have your sphere, that's it. You're going to see is if you actually make this a mindset where you're always looking to increase it, it's going to happen. So again, it goes back to forget about marketing and go with prospecting. The other part is play the long game. Scripts, we know we're in a skill-based market, okay? So commit to the activities and increase them by 30%. Track your results, use your schedule to track your time, and then execute a relationship plan with them. All right, because you know it's the same kind of thing. You need to increase your database just as much. And then you got multipliers. One of the things partnership gives you, partnership is not a 1+1 type of thing. Partnerships are going to multiply your business. And that's why so many people are looking at partnering with us right now. Because one is when you partner with a mortgage company, all of a sudden you got referrals from the mortgage company. When you partner with that attorney or title person, same kind of thing. When you partner with agents across the country, it's going to be the same thing. Got 2 referrals yesterday from different teams across the country. Also, your success team. How big is it when you have a great success team and they're just actually doing stuff at a high level where it's helping you out? Katie, you know that better than anybody probably, because it makes a huge difference for all the agents. And then other partnerships, also your coaching. Golly, this is such a big one. Coaches are the ones that are going to sit there and help you with your blind spots and also help you with your development plan. Just being honest with them, doing what they do, just like Michael Phelps. I mean, Michael Bowman and him were together for 22 years. That is a long time for a athlete and a coach to be together. And there was times where it got really terse. And Michael shared, there was times he went out of the pool area and he flipped him off and told him exactly how he thought with some colorful metaphors. Okay. But then he was right back in the pool swimming with him and he went back to it and it was a business decision. And part of that was when Michael started with him, he was 11 years old. So you look at from being a boy to him growing into being a man. So there's a transition for both of them in that aspect of it. And then also different groups we get involved with in KW, luxury, relocation, also the concierge program that we can do. So be involved with those KW groups and also leverage those. All right, that's what I got. Robbie, what did I miss? What other shares did you have?
Ooh, put me on the spot.
Absolutely.
No, I think you did really, really good. Those notes are amazing. I think the thing that stood out to me is the 30% less, for our individual businesses. And I think that each one of us have to sit down and decide, am I okay with accepting 30% less income for me and my family this year, for me and my business? Me personally, I'm not. Like I know my personal income did take a step back this year, with me shifting a little bit more out of production. But moving forward, like that's not something I'm okay with. And you're gonna have pain either way. You're gonna have pain in what my income looks like, the vacations I go on, or you're going to have the pain of making some more calls and doing some more prospecting. And either way, it's going to be painful. Like, you don't go into a shifting market and not feel a little discomfort. And so for each of us, business planning is coming up next week, I believe. And so when you do your business planning, I think we take it very, very serious, more serious than years past, for sure, because we could have coasted by. We could have not had, that GPS dialed in and looked at it each month to see how am I doing, where am I at, and you would have been okay, right? We're all in real estate still, so we've done something right. But in a downward market, you tighten things up. You get your calls in, hell or high water, and you make sure that you're still having those really solid vacations, buying those investment properties, because those opportunities are going to be coming up. I know I was on a call this morning with an investor friend of mine, and we were talking about some of the things that people are doing right now that are fear-based. And there's an investor in Knoxville who's a friend of mine who is unloading all of his rental properties. And you just look at that, and historically, over the long haul, the market tells you not to do that. But that's fear-based, selling. And so we're going to have opportunities to buy we're going to have opportunities to buy investment properties if that's important to you. We're going to have opportunities to work with sellers, because sellers, even with interest rates being high, sellers are going to get scared, and they're going to need a trusted advisor. And so we come from a place of value. But to kind of put a bow on it, each one of us has to decide the level of discomfort that we're willing to accept. For me, I'm willing to accept more discomfort in the office, making calls and doing prospecting. Ben and Chris had mentioned that in a down market, we are all ISAs. So if you don't adapt that mindset, expect that 30% or more market share drop off or sales drop off, because agents who are hungry for success, agents who are comfortable with being uncomfortable, are going to take up those transactions. We're going to see a lot of agents get out of the market, which is a benefit to all of us. But that's going to take a year to really kind of see those effects, because there's a delay in agents getting in the market and getting out of the market. So I think we button down, buckle up, and this is a really, really exciting time for your business. Even though we talk about down markets, it just means that the agents that are on place teams typically are really hardworking agents. They're making their calls. There's a high level of accountability, and that kind of system thrives in these down markets, as opposed to the agents who just show up and they sell some homes just because. You're going to get 10 to 12 deals regardless if you never pick up a phone. Like, I 100% feel that is just by being alive. I'm going to sell 10 homes no matter what, just because people are going to call me. It's the outgoing efforts that you make day to day that will change the amount of income you have overall for the year. So if you're going to sell 10 homes no matter what, if you do those outbound efforts, then you're probably going to sell 36 plus homes, because you're doing the right activities when no one else is. And so you're either taking market share or someone's taking it from you. But there's very few agents that I've ever coached who have done the exact same amount of transactions every year. You either do more or you do less, and it's up to you. You get to decide. So,
Yep. Danny, you went too, and tell us what your takeaways were. You're on mute, maybe.
Okay. The message overall was, surprisingly consistent with whatever speaker was up in front. I would say, essentially, what do you want? And at what point are you willing to pay the cost to get there. And that's mostly time and emotional and physical energy, all those things that require something, there's a cost. I would say I kept hearing that over and over. What do you want? The other thing I heard from that is, have a very specific plan, as you guys are mentioning, and make sure you can answer to whoever you're kind of involving, accountability wise, family, your budget, whatever, you're going to have to answer to that, whether you've been able to are you meeting those goals and what's it worth?
Very good.
Yeah. And I think that the why is really important to have in front of us at all times. If, some of the whys that I heard weren't very sufficient for me, and so, but some were. And so I think that's really important. We do things for all types of reasons. If we're trying to earn any kind of worth, then that's a red flag. If we're trying to make a living, if we're greedy, that can be a red flag. It's really deceiving what can happen when you go from need to greed. And so that's a line that's not very clear for most people that I noticed. So I would say those things are super important. And then, the skills, I think, that was really interesting. Knowledge, having a lot of knowledge, and staying in front of, the real facts, where people are, not just what you think, but so the tax information that from the economist point of view, from investing point of view. So there's lots we can learn about. So I would say that is just make sure we're really learning and not just feeling like we are agents because we show up.
Yep. Robbie, go ahead and bring us home. Closing.
Yeah,
comment.
man. One thing that Michael talked about that I forgot to mention was he had 2 DUIs and he didn't train super hard leading into one of the Olympics or one of the races that he had, and he mentioned that if he had any, or Ben asked him if he had any regrets, and he said no, like I got what I deserved. So if you have low sales numbers and you go back and look at your calls, you got that because that's what you deserved. You didn't deserve to sell 50 homes that year. You didn't deserve to set the world on fire because you weren't doing the right activities. And so I think just overall and in general, like there's so much transparency with really successful agents and their activities that if you're struggling in your real estate business or it's not where you want it to be, you go back and look at those numbers. And if you're truly honest with yourself, you got what you deserved. And I think that if you're gonna set the world on fire, you got to make sure that you deserve the success that those around you might be having.
Great point. All right, I'm going to close it out with that. Your leaders have got the notes to share with you guys if you haven't received them yet. So great notes. There's 42 pages of them. So go through. There's going to be some great nuggets that weren't mentioned here. It was 2 days and every single panel was impactful. We just couldn't possibly cover everything in such a short amount of time, but it was great stuff. So I will see you guys next week. Hope you have a wonderful week and make it big.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Thanks, Wes.
Bye.